What's going on, guys? Vulkan here, and today we are talking about last Epoch's massive update called Sands of Majasa. Now, this one has been teased for quite some time now, and like usual, last Epoch continues to add larger and larger patches each time they do a content update. So what all comes with Sands of Majasa, right? Well, this one adds some big ticket items that lots of people have really been clamoring for. So first up, we have the next act of the campaign, which is Act 9 or Chapter 9. And this takes players into the Majasa region where they get to meet a familiar face before that familiar face becomes corrupted by the void. And this campaign also comes with 15 new zones, boss encounters, new enemies, and more, including a new allied race that are basically just Nagas from World of Warcraft. So cool stuff there, gotta love it. But let's move into the next item. So they did overhaul the Monolith system, and they did this to help kind of smooth out the progression from island to island or timeline to timeline. And they added in some timeline exclusive rewards to help encourage even more target farming. And bosses will now have 4 specific uniques that have a chance to drop, which adds up to 10 brand new uniques to chase in the Monolith. And then speaking of uniques, they also added in over 30 new unique items, which is more than they've ever added before. Now, moving into the next topic, let's talk a little bit about Arena. So for those of you who love Arena, they made a minor change to the keys. So before, you could consume a key that would start you at wave 1 and you could fight throughout the arena. Now you have something called keys of memory, which have replaced the golden arena keys. And these keys of memory will start you off on either half of the number of waves you've completed in your last run or wave 100, whichever is higher. So go ahead and keep an eye out for those, and they might make your arena life a little bit easier. Now, they did add in 3 new skills for the Sentinel, the multi-strike, which I really like this one. It's a 0-cost skill, and it changes depending on how many enemies are near you. And this thing absolutely clears trash mobs. It does not do well on bosses or single target, but it's really fun to just wipe out big hordes of enemies. Next up, we have the Javelin, and this is probably the coolest skill out of all of the new ones, and it's just like it sounds, right? You throw a Javelin, it's going to dish out some damage. Now, at the onset, the damage of the Javelin skill is super underwhelming. You throw it, and it chunks off like a tiny little bit of an enemy, and you're like, okay, come on. But as you build around the skill, either by stacking throwing damage, lightning damage, investing in some of those damage nodes, it turns into a pretty awesome spender. And you can really alter how this skill performs. It can hit an enemy and then splinter off. You can leave a trail of fire and lightning behind it wherever it travels that heals you. So there's just so much that is packed into this Javelin skill. And then lastly is the Void Cleave. And the Void Cleave has quickly become a fan favorite. I'm talking super fast. It cleaves enemies in front of you, naturally, and your character will also take a step forward. Now, the cool thing here is that you can synergize this skill with other big kind of key skills like Erasing Strike, Warpath, or any Void, Bleed, and Ignite skills. I've been using this one pretty heavy on my Warpath Paladin, and it's great for dishing out huge damage because the longer I Whirlwind on my Warpath, the more damage my next Void Cleave will do. So pretty cool stuff, and I think last Epoch's new focus on having all of these different skills affect other skills, not just in the Sentinel but across multiple classes, is really starting to pay off because you can see a lot of these different synergies that stack on top of each other. Now, the other classes have their skills tweaked a little bit. There's a lot of nitty gritty in here. So I would highly recommend checking out the patch notes in the description below for your particular class and maybe a build that you use. But just know that some of the skills have had their unlocks moved to different levels. They added some summon limitations to the Acolyte, and then the Mage and Primalist and Rogue were all kind of balanced out, and there were some additional things changed. So at the end of the day, a lot of things were altered for all the different classes. They also added in a new model for the Primalist to make him look a bit more nature-y. He looks like a barbarian meets kind of druid now, so cool stuff there. And lastly, they updated controller support so it's even more responsive. So for those of you who really like to play controller, there is even more to love about that one. So overall, this patch has been really great to play through. I mean, I really enjoyed the story, even though it's pretty short, and the changes to Warpath and all of the other Sentinel skills have been great to tinker with since I'm mostly a Sentinel main. Now, last Epoch has just continued to improve patch after patch after patch. And the last big hurdle they need to get over is adding in multiplayer. Once multiplayer gets added, I think a lot of players will come back to check out the game, and we can finally say that this action RPG is on the home stretch. Because outside of multiplayer, the other kind of big glaring things are just the addition of the Warlock, the Rune Master, and the Falconer classes. Besides that, I think we're good. So what do you guys think about the new patch so far? I mean, have you dove in to check it out? Are you one of those players who's kind of waiting until multiplayer is added? I'm very curious to hear what everybody thinks about this one, because there's a lot to love, but then there was a lot of builds that got completely nuked into the ground from all of the class changes. So let me know in the comment section below. As always, thank you guys so much for all the support. This has been Vulkan, and I'll talk to you guys next time.